Hello everyone and welcome to another video on the Swiss Alps How I Did It series, where I break down the how, why and what of my trip to the Jungfrau region of the Swiss Alps. This video is about how to do the Top of Europe attraction. If you do this, it will undoubtedly be one of the most expensive things you do on your trip, so it's worth getting right. Before we get into it, if you want more videos about making life a story worth telling via storytelling and making small great changes in your life, then don't hesitate to press the subscribe button and click that bell icon. One of the most heartbreaking things I saw during my Jungfrau region adventure was on my first day. I hadn't even arrived at my hotel yet, as I was on the final leg of my train journey from Lauterbrunnen to Wengen. There was an extended family from India on the train. Several generations, there was at least 3. They were going to the top of Europe in the middle of the afternoon, paying full price. I can't remember the final figure. It was pretty damn shocking. An hour later, the clouds moved in along with torrential rain and thunder. There was a very high chance they didn't get the best top of Europe experience. And you don't want to be that family. This video assumes you are going to do Top of Europe. It doesn't analyse if you should. So the focus is on getting the most out of it. You will need a simple plan, and this is how it goes. There are a number of attractions at Top of Europe, but most of them are sideshows. It's all about the views. If you go up there and you find yourself enshrouded in cloud, you pretty much wasted your money. So you need to ensure you will get those views. You're looking for nice days free of cloud. The key thing to note is that everyone is doing exactly the same thing, or they're getting the same advice from their tour organisers. So what does that actually mean? I took the first train from Wengen to Kleine Scheidegg numerous times. It was always completely empty. There was the odd time I was the only person on it. The same train on the day I chose to go to Top of Europe, standing room only. And the reason for that is everyone else had been monitoring the weather and made the same damn decision about which day to go to Top of Europe. I've put a link to the weather app I used in the description. Basically, check it every day. And while for Top of Europe you're looking for sort of like what it's going to be like on a particular day, you can actually use that weather app to plan your hiking hour by hour. It is scarily accurate. The second part of your strategy is also covered in another video, as it's very good advice when planning any trip into the mountains. Look at the webcams for Top of Europe. This is especially true if the weather app isn't giving you zero cloud. You need to know if those pesky clouds are blanketing the Top of Europe or not, because you've paid a damn fortune and you don't want to just see cloud. I put a link into the webcams in the description. Choose your day, check them on the morning, then go. This brings me to the third part of your strategy. Go early. Wherever your journey starts, get the very first train. The reason being Top of Europe fills up over the course of the day, which is ironic as the clouds roll in over the course of the day. So being the first at the Top of Europe is a double win. Going late in the day and not watching the weather means you could very well end up like that unfortunate family I encountered on my first day. The fourth point of your strategy is which route to take. You have 2 choices, as your train journey to Kleine Scheidegg can be via Grindelwald, via the Grindelwald Valley, or Wengen via the Lauterbrunnen Valley. From my experience of being there for a week and going to Kleine Scheidegg from Wengen 4 times, go up via Wengen. And then you can choose to come down via Grindelwald if you wish. Now there is a reason for this. The first Grindelwald train up to Kleine Scheidegg was always busy, with lots of people getting off for Top of Europe. When I took the Wengen train up to Kleine Scheidegg, other than that one day where I was going to Top of Europe, that train was empty. More importantly, the first Wengen train always got there before the first Grindelwald train. So therefore, your Wengen train will arrive in Kleine Scheidegg and you'll be able to move over to the Top of Europe train and get on it before the Grindelwald train arrives, and then those people find themselves queuing for the next train. Do you need to book a seat on the final leg of the journey into the mountain? If you're a small group and you're on that first train via Wengen? Not really, because you get on that first train and you beat the Grindelwald crowds. If you have a large group, yeah, book a seat. But to be fair, I think it costs about 5 Swiss francs to book a seat. And if you don't use it, book another seat. So, you've reliably got there. What are the things to do? Well, it's a bit like a buffet in that there's the big ticket items and the ones that are just meant to fill you up. The good thing is Top of Europe is organised well and routes you through the attractions and puts the best things first. You should get off the train and hit the Jungfrau Panorama, Sphinx Viewpoint, Glacier, and then walk to the hut. This hits the majority of the viewing options, which is why you've made this epically costly trip in the first place. I recommend going to the hut. It takes 45 minutes in either direction, but you're basically walking in the snow and ice on what feels like the top of the world, and it is well worth it. In fact, it was the best thing I did at Top of Europe. I took my time, and walking to that hut and the sights I saw are some of the most amazing experiences on my whole trip. It also means you get your money's worth, as doing that means you took 2 or 3 hours across those attractions. Once you return from the hut, you have one other viewing attraction, the plateau. But to get to it, you have to go through all the other low-value buffet options. They're a mixture of models, history, and the ice palace. In my view, they're all worth walking through as part of the experience, but they're not really why you paid to make the trip, right? The plateau is where the Swiss flag is that everyone wants a photo with. If you're really into getting the perfect Instagram photo, then queue up for it. Personally, unless you really want that perfect Instagram photo, just ignore it and soak up the views. And yes, this is the coldest part of the experience by far. My walk up to the hut felt relatively oddly warm. My time near that Swiss flag, it was freezing. Yeah, it was damn cold on the plateau. This brings me to my final bit of advice. Dress in layers, so you can dress down and warm up. You're not going to be in t-shirts and shorts at the Top of Europe, but you may get different degrees of warm and cold depending on where you are and the weather. You may also want to do other things when you come off the Top of Europe, right? So you may want to take a lot of those layers off to do whatever you're doing once you come off the mountain. The rest of the attractions are shops and restaurants, which I'll leave you to look up on the web. I'll post some pertinent links in the video description. Safe to say, you can buy some really expensive chocolate and some really expensive watches. The key is you've got the first train, you've done all the key viewing areas, you've got your value from the experience, and you can save those restaurants and shops for maybe when Top of Europe is a bit busier, because they're the low value items. I guess the final burning question is, was it worth it? My personal opinion, it was, but context is everything. I had the Jungfrau Regional Pass, and this covered a lot of the costs associated with visiting Top of Europe. I only had to pay for the final rail leg from Kleiner Scheidegg into the mountain. Would I have done it if I'd been facing those costs that that unfortunate Indian family faced? It would have made me think twice. There is no doubt about it. But I think it would still have been overall worth it if you used the strategy I've outlined. Because you're getting to experience things that you would only get, well, normally you'd only get those views if you'd literally climbed a mountain with ropes and pitons, right? On that basis alone, it's worth doing it. It can be a bit of a ticket shock if you're in a large group and you don't have any discounts, but it's worth doing. Please post in the comments if you've been to Top of Europe and pass on what your experience was and if you thought it was worth the expense. Certainly post if you have done it and have any bits of interesting advice yourself. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments. Until next time, you can support me by doing a few simple things. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and let's continue to make small great changes to make life a story worth telling.